Hello aspirants, welcome to Daily Chronicles by Abhiram IAS Academy. So Daily Chronicles లో మనం ఏం చేస్తామంటే the most important topics from the Hindu, Indian Express, PIB and అలానే various important newspaper నుంచి government ministries నుంచి topics pick up చేసుకొని exam point of view లో మీకు చెప్పడం జరుగుతుంది. As such, I have picked 5 important topics and ఇది preliminary point of view లో discuss చేద్దాం ఈ రోజు. So the first topic for the day is that we'll be discussing about what is the right to be forgotten. ఇది హిందూ పేపర్ లో ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. ద టాపిక్ ఈస్ వాట్ ఇస్ ద రైట్ టు బి ఫర్గెటన్. ఇక రైట్ టు బి ఫర్గెటన్ అంటే మనం మర్చిపోవడం అని కాదు. లెట్స్ సీ వాట్ ఇస్ ద మెయిన్ థింగ్ హియర్. So, why it is in news? It is in news because the Delhi High Court in its landmark judgment dated 29 May 2026 and which has been given in the month of May, delivered in Lakshveer Singh Yadav versus Union of India case that laid down a comprehensive legal framework governing the right to be forgotten. Mari right to be forgotten ante enti? Okay, and also the court held that right to be forgotten flows from Article 21, which is supporting your right to life and personal liberty. Okay, that is the thing. Mari right to forgotten ante enti? Simple ga oka example cheptanu meeku. Like oka person unnaru. Ee person enti ante he has done a mistake ani accused. Like oka he has been accused telling that he has done a mistake. Remember, it's not yet proved. He has become a accused or a victim, saying that someone has complained that he has done a mistake. But in fact, he didn't do any kind of mistake. After a couple of days or some days, the justice has been said that the court has been said that he is innocent. The court has said he is innocent. Okay, but already his name is registered. The social media made him viral for the work or for the mistake what he didn't do. Okay, now the justice was like the court's verdict was like he didn't do any mistake. But in social media, in Google or wherever the search engines are there, in all the search engines, the name itself is telling, when you search a name or when you type a name, it's coming like he has done a mistake. But what did the court say? He didn't do any mistake. Now this data has been not updated and not removed from the social media. Now, this person went to the court saying that, see court, you have given the justice telling that I didn't do any mistake. But in the social media platforms, it's like still it's showing like I am accused itself, which is disturbing my privacy, which is disturbing my life because no one is giving me job, my friends are not trusting me, my family is not trusting me, the society is not trusting me. But the court has trusted, that is you has been trusted and you said me I am innocent and really I am innocent. But the social media is still saying that I have done something wrong. I request the court, please make sure that all the things from the internet is removed. Whatever the things are there, according to me, whatever the things are showing that I am accused or I am the person who have done the mistake, please I request you to tell to them to remove. Court thought that yes, he has not done mistake, he is proved innocent. Now the social media handles are showing so. It is disturbing his life. It is disturbing its privacy. So court said that please do remove. But it has been already went. It has been already saved in the mobile phones. It's already been saved in the like your laptops, whatever the storage information will be there. Now, court came to a thing. Let's see what has been the court is saying now. So, simply, what is right to be forgotten? Right to be forgotten is the right of an individual. It is right of you or any individual to request to remove, erase or de-indexing of personal information from the internet, search engines, website, databases or any other public platforms. What I am telling to erase, what I am telling to remove, I am telling to remove the mistake what was not done by me but which was portrayed in social media that I have done a mistake. It can be invoked when personal information is no longer necessary, relevant, accurate or serves no legitimate public interest. And this right to be forgotten is aiming to protect the individuals from long-term harm caused by the digital footprint or the social media. This is your right to be forgotten. Remember, in your next mains, this may be the question. So what is right to be forgotten? Simple. It is de-indexing removing or erasing the information which is not useful, which is not relevant to the anyone, which is not relevant to the society basically. Okay, this applies to information on the internet, search engines, website, databases and other any public platforms. Why? Because it is disturbing someone's privacy. As they're having a right to privacy, this is disturbing the right to privacy of human. So that is why I'm asking to erase. Clear? Now, this issue went to the High Courts and Supreme Courts. Where did it originate from? Basically, it originated from Europe. European Union recognizes right to be forgotten as right to erasure under their General Data Protection Regulation. In India also, it is coming under DPDP Act. Okay. Clear? And also, courts in the United Kingdom and several European countries have upheld this right. That is, they supported this right also. The same story, what I have been taught you, what I have been said an example, it has been done in the Europe. Now, let's see what is the position of right to be forgotten in India. In India, the status is like there is no particular dedicated law regarding to this right to be forgotten. But it has been recognized under Personal Data Protection Bill of 2019, saying that any information which is not relevant to the society or which is like there is no use of that data, that can be erased. Okay, and improper data which is not serving any use also can be erased. So the purpose for collecting the data has been fulfilled, or the consent for processing the data has been withdrawn, the disclosure is contrary to the provision of the law. So these things can be disclosed. I mean, these things cannot be disclosed. The Personal Data Protection Bill proposed that an individual could restrict or prevent the continued disclosure of the personal data when the purpose is done, the purpose for collecting data was fulfilled, the next, consent for processing the data has been withdrawn, and also the disclosure is contrary to the provisions of the law. Now, where the judiciary have been recognized this in two things. One is Puttaswamy case and also some from the other high court judgments. Now, what they're telling is, what they're asking is, the Supreme Court recognized right to privacy as fundamental right under Article 21 in Puttaswamy case. And now it is observing that here the right of an individual, which is denying the right to privacy, is going off. Now the courts are arguing that, the courts are thinking that is right to privacy of an individual is important, right to privacy of individual is important, or transparent judiciary is important. Is transparent judiciary important, or the right to privacy of an individual is important? Which is important? Courts are thinking like that. Then the courts have been come to a middle point saying that yes, both are equally important. What we can do? When a case is there, it has to be projected transparently, because we are having right to speech and expression under Article 19, Clause 1, Clause A. If I am not providing any judiciary review, judiciary things, okay, judiciary cases which has to be transparent, which has to be produced to the people. If it is not happening so, what I can do? How must we deal with this? Then the courts are thinking that there is a middle pathway, like what is necessary, we'll project in the platforms. We will project in the website. What is the name? Why do we use the name? Or can we change the name and can we produce? This is where the conclusion, there is no conclusion for this. The courts are thinking so. The courts have been come to middle based and telling that what is useful to the people. Let's keep that. Where to keep the entire case? If the case is proved, let's keep. But again, judiciary is in a point that, see, how many cases can we solve like this? It becomes again overburden to the judiciary. What can we do? Let's see what the judiciary does again. It's not been finalized yet. It has to be finalized. Let's see how will the judiciary protect the right of privacy of an individual. Done? And when can this right to be forgotten be claimed? This can be claimed when an individual seeks the right to be forgotten when personal information is no longer necessary. When you don't need my information, I no need to produce in the social media platforms. And the information has become irrelevant or outdated. Already the verdict has come, already the judgment has been passed, and you proved me I am innocent. Then why you have to keep my data again? Okay, from all the social media handles, social media things, it has to be erased. And the information is incorrect or misleading. Continued disclosure causes harm and serves no legitimate public interest. No legality is there. If there is no legality, please remove this. But this becomes overburden. How much data can you erase, man? Okay. But there are some limitations for this right to be forgotten. What are they? Protection of freedom of speech and expression, and also compliance with legal or statutory obligations, public interest, transparency of judiciary as discussed. Now, what we have to do? The balancing of rights is a need for hour. Balancing of rights is need for the hour. That is what we have to do. And this PDF I have been kept in, we have been posted in the Telegram channel. Please do have a look and read. This is very important for mains. Clear? How to write for mains, like what is the introduction, what is the body, what to give a conclusion, everything is given in this PDF. Next. See, the conclusion is also very good. If you see, the right to be forgotten enables individuals to seek the removal of de-indexing of personal information that is no longer relevant or necessary. In India, although there is no specific legislation, yes, we are not having any specific law for this, the rights derive constitutional support from the right to privacy under K.S. Puttaswamy case, that is right to privacy in digital media platforms basically, and have been progressively recognized through judicial decisions subject to balancing with freedom of expression, public interest, and also right to information. This is the good conclusion we have been given. And the next, in Indian Express, there is something article called Indira Point, why Center wants to protect landmark lighthouse and develop tourism hub. Okay, basically we're talking about Indira Point. And now why this is in news and why it matters now, let's see. Basically, it is located in the Greater Nicobar Island. It is located in the Great Nicobar Island. And now India is going for its Great Nicobar project, where we are constructing a international, constructing an international maritime transshipment hub. We want to construct a international maritime transshipment hub. That is why this Indira Point is in news now. So the news is, Union Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways has sought strict coastal regulation zone clearances to strengthen the Indira Point Lighthouse. Let's see what is this Indira Point Lighthouse and develop it as tourist destination. For exam, it is important to know where is the location. So, it is the southernmost tip. It is completely the southernmost tip of your sovereign territory of India. Located at the southern tip, extreme to the southern tip of the Great Nicobar Island, which is in your Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And also, there is a 35 meters high lighthouse which is commissioned in April 1972. But first, it was named as Pygmalion Point. It is named as Pygmalion Point. But after the death of Indira Gandhi, it has been named as Indira Point. Where it is located? It is located in the Great Nicobar Islands and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay, here you can see, can you see here? This is the thing. The southernmost tip located here, and here we are having the lighthouse. That is Indira Point and the lighthouse. Towards here, that is in your Great Nicobar Islands. You can see here the, what we call it as Indira Point. Southernmost tip, this is a lighthouse. And you can see this is very near to the Galathea National Park in your Great Nicobar. Is it so? Yes. And the thing is, as India is going for its, as we discussed, The transshipment hub near the Galatia National Park. So this lighthouse is serving as a traffic light. That is a light junction for the many ships. Okay, now as we're constructing the transshipment hub, yes, it is strategically very important to show the directions. That is why now the Ministry of Ships and Ports want to develop this as tourist destination, That is the significance of this. So the economic importance is supports navigation for ships approaching the proposed Galatea Bay International Container Shipment Port. It is promoting tourism in near Great Nicobar also. So the major important thing for preliminary is the location and the climate around it. Clear? Next, this is an article from PIB which is telling that the Department of School Education Literacy under the Ministry of Education has been released Performance Grading Index 2.0, which is reporting from the states and also for the districts also. Now, what is this Performance Grading Index? This is basically a data-driven assessment from where it is evaluating the performance of the school education, that is government school education in your states and also in districts. States, union territories and districts. Performance Grading Index, what it is doing? It is evaluating the performance of school education across your states, union territories and districts. Clear? Now, who is giving this? It is given by a Ministry of Education. It was introduced in the year 2018. See, this statistics you can use basically in your mains answer writing also. The objective is to improve the quality of school education through performance assessment and also evidence-based policy reforms. Okay, it wants to increase it wants to improve the quality of schooling education and also evidence-based policy reforms. This is the objective of the index. So basically what it does is, it will access the overall performance of school education, identify the strengths and weaknesses. If there are weaknesses, it will try to correct the weaknesses and also promote healthy competition and cooperative learning among the states and different districts and also support data-driven policy decisions. Now, the most important thing here is if they want to ask in the examination, sometimes I will focus on these domains, 6 domains. For conducting of this index, the 6 domains are to be evaluated. What are they? They are learning outcomes and quality, accessing what are the outcomes from each schooling, and also what is the infrastructure present there, is it good or not, the facilities available to the students, even drinking water is provided or not, proper sanitation is there or not, or proper washrooms are constructed or not, proper roofing is there or not, everything will be accessed here. And also, what is the quality of teachers, how is the quality of education there, and also what is the governance process, and also teacher education and training. What is the teacher? Where the teacher is educated and how she is or he is performing. These are the 6 domains looked after. What is the significance? If you want to write the significance, if they are asking, it is supporting the implementation of National Education Policy 2020 and also encouraging the continuous improvement in governance and learning outcomes, and it is also identifying the regional disparities in the state. If one district is showing the improvement and if one district is not showing the improvement, this index is trying to tell what are the more quality features or what are the things or what are the policies should be implemented in this district to be improved. How the schooling education or the quality of these education should be improved. So identify the regional disparities in education and promotes evidence-based policy making and it is making the schools accountable to the government. This is the significance of that. Now let's see the 4th article. This is from Indian Express. It is telling that basically Indonesia is buying Astra missiles from the India. Basically, significance of India's Astra missiles which Indonesia is buying. So India and Indonesia, as you know, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a 3-state visit where he has went to the New Zealand and also Indonesia and Australia also. Yes, India and Indonesia on Tuesday, that is on Tuesday, they have been signing a deal for the supply of Astra Mk1 Beyond Visual Range Air-to-Air missiles. This is the where Astra is where that is supporting Beyond Visual Range Air-to-Air missiles. Okay, so Indonesia is buying Astra missiles from us. Now, what is the importance of Astra? India and Indonesia signed an agreement. This is why is the news. So basically, can you see the Astra missile? This is indigenously developed. That is, it is developed in India. And the thing is that it is beyond visual air-to-air missile. Now, what is this? Is basically, see, Astra releases the missile where think like this is a delivery partner with GPS system. Where when the radio waves are detected from the enemy itself, this Astra will be there. Immediately after detecting radio waves from the missiles of the others, this indigenously developed Astra missile, what it will do is, it will shoot over there. It will completely destroy the enemy's missile. That is where here Astra missile is done. And one more thing is that it can reach very fastly. That is, this is air-to-air missile. It will fire and it will forget. It will again reach its back. This is also developed in fire and forget principle. And this is beyond visual, where you cannot see, Astra will go there. Okay, where you cannot see the missiles of other countries or the enemy countries, Astra will be going there. That is why it is named as Beyond Visual Range Air-to-Air Missile. Who is developing this? This is developed by DRDO and it can transfer to the longer distances. It is designed to destroy enemy aircraft at very long distances, intended to use for both Indian Air Force and also Indian Navy. Now, what is this Beyond Visual Range Air-to-Air Missile? Basically, it is like it can engage aerial targets beyond 37 kilometers. Fight from fighter aircraft to destroy another airborne target before your visual contact goes there. Even you cannot see there the Astra goes. Basically, there are 3 types of Astra missiles. Astra Mk1, here the range differs. This is 80 to 110 kilometers and the speed is like Mach 4.5. What does Mach 4.5 is? Almost 4 to 5 times greater than the sound waves. Astra Mk2, the range is around 200 kilometers and Astra Mk3, the range is above the 350 kilometers. That is the thing. And what is the significance of this? Indonesia becomes the first foreign country to procure the Astra Mk1 missile. This is the importance. And other India-Indonesia defense agreements are like, along with Astra missile deal, India and Indonesia have been also signed the others. That is BrahMos supersonic cruise missile, defense technology transfer, critical minerals cooperation and also maritime security cooperation. These are what the things Indonesia and India have been signed together. Now, next. The 5th one is Pramban Temple. Now, why this is significant again? Because India and Indonesia jointly are promoting for conservation and restoration of Pramban Temple. This is located in Indonesia. This is the largest Hindu temple located in the Indonesia. And exam lo adagali anukunte ee temple gurinchi questions adgadam jarugutundi. So please carefully have a look. This Pramban Temple is the largest Hindu temple complex in Indonesia and one of the largest temple in Southeast Asia. Which kind of temple it is? It is a Shaivite Hindu architecture. Now, what is located there? So, can you see? It is a masterpiece of Shaivite Hindu architecture in Indonesia. And who has built this? Who has built this? It was built around 850 CE during the Sanjaya dynasty. Remember this. The dynasty was Sanjaya dynasty, and it was declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in the year 1991. Declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in the year 1991. And the speciality is there exist Trimurti temples. There is a deity related to Shiva, there is a deity related to Brahma and also to Vishnu. Trimurti temples are located there. And also the most important thing is Vahana temples are also located. Three main Vahanas which are related to Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, that is Shiva Nandi, Brahma Hamsa, Vishnu Garuda. They are also located in this temple. That is why it is very much important for your examination. Shaivat temple, clear, Sanjaya dynasty, 1991 it got the UNESCO World Heritage Site. And also the most important thing is, it is the largest temple in your Indonesia. Done? And the temple architecture is, it is built using dry interlocking stone, and here see, no cement-like structure is used. Only the interlocking of bricks is there. No mortar is used. No mortar was used between the bricks. Only the interlocking of bricks is done. See how nice architecture. And also largest Hindu temple complex in India, which is promoting the Hindu culture in Indonesia also. This is a major Muslim country, there we are promoting the Hinduism. Clear? I mean, the majority of people were Muslims and there we are promoting the Hindu religion. Not only Hindu, you can consider Indian culture is also promoting there. Clear? This is very important for your examination. Please have a look. That's all for today. We'll be meeting up with tomorrow. Thank you.